What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Wolfpack with me, Dan, and we're going to be talking about Burnley versus Wolves. This is the match review.
We're out for blood. Better run, better run. 'Cause here it comes, here it comes. Better run. When the wolves come out to play.
So it finished Wolves 1, Burnley 1, and it was one of those games where both teams needed not to lose, basically. Burnley are really fighting for it. They've actually gone 4 games unbeaten now. So we've actually faced Burnley at a time where they're most dangerous. They're in good form. They've just got a draw against Chelsea, and they're playing Wolves, who just come off a defeat to Aston Villa. So it was always going to be one of those games where I think we played the game very safe. We started the game, as you can see, very similar. Chuame obviously played more as an advanced forward, with Sarabia playing more of a number 10 role. But as you can see, 4 at the back for both teams, 4 through the middle, with Doherty and Aït-Nouri playing further up as wingers. And it felt like one of those games where it was the first team to blink, basically. Both teams played fairly evenly. Both teams very scrappy. But also, to be fair, had very good chances. Both sides had very good chances. Again, some chances I do think we needed to do a lot better in. There's some scenarios where we've got ourselves into a good space in front of goal and just really not being able to hit that final ball or to hit that final strike that leads to a goal. And ultimately, that's basically what the first half was all about, really. But I digress, because obviously you can see it's finished 1-1. But let's talk about the first goal for Burnley. So, yeah, again, conceding first. With this team at the moment, everyone's fearing for the worst, aren't they? Because, we've got so many players out injured at the moment in an attacking sense. And you just think, if we go behind, where's the goal coming from for us to get an equaliser? And that really, really felt like a blow when they scored, really. So yeah, the Burnley goal came from a free kick, and they worked it pretty well, to be fair, and caught Wolves napping, trying to get back into a defensive line to clear a ball forward. Really, really poor defensively from Wolves. Semedo and Doherty both caught on that one side napping, and neither of them really saw Larsson behind them. He gets a really clean strike, and it's a good finish, to be fair. But it's just the way the goal happened was probably the most disappointing for me, because it was essentially 3 passes, and they're in a very dangerous situation, bearing down on Sarr, and it's in before Sarr's even got time to even think about it. And that's a very, very poor goal to concede. And to me, like I said at the start, we started as a back 4, and we just don't suit a back 4, do we? We don't suit that kind of shape, and mainly it's just because of the fact that our centre backs just aren't good enough to play without that extra man helping in the middle. We are missing Dawson, it's got to be said. But yeah, ultimately that's pretty much where the goal came from. Defensive mix-up, and just that back 4 for Wolves just showing too many gaps, which made it really easy for Larsson, and Larsson puts it away, and it's 1-0. Luckily for Wolves, we do get a goal just before half-time. And I know that a lot of Burnley fans, if you're watching, you're going to be very annoyed, really, at Aït-Nouri going down. I haven't seen it back, but when I watched it the first time, I do think it was a very soft free kick to give Wolves. And that's exactly what leads to the goal. So I can understand why Burnley fans were very upset, especially, because of the state of where their club is at the moment, 19th in the table. So we completely understand their frustrations and everything. But at the end of the day, you just have to play football, don't you? We've had so much bad luck this season. So, yeah, it's one of them. But anyway, the goal comes from a really good free kick from Sarabia, actually. And to be honest, it's probably the only really good bit of play Sarabia did the whole game, really, was to float in a really good dead ball free kick over the top. To be fair, there was quite a few players lining up for it, but I'm just happy that it actually came to Aït-Nouri, because he sticks his head at it, and it's a really good finish, actually, at the far post. Really tucks it away really nicely. And Aït-Nouri at the moment, I mean, we may as well play him up front, because he's the only player really at the moment where you think a goal's coming from, which is absolutely ludicrous. Who the hell would have thought at the start of this season that one of our key players is Aït-Nouri? Absolutely unbelievable. And credit to him, because he works super, super hard in all the areas that Gary O'Neill seems to put him, and he just has no qualms whatsoever. He's like, yeah, play me further forward, boss. Play me, as my role that I normally play. And towards the end of the game as well, Aït-Nouri was floating more where Chirome is here, and then we brought Cunha on, and he went in behind. You were playing Aït-Nouri as a number 9, so just goes to show just what kind of finishing ability he has got, and also what confidence he's got. And it's just one of those players that gets you up the pitch as well. He very much plays in the way that Cunha played before he got injured. So I think that's why Gary O'Neill really appreciates him, because he really likes his ball winners, and he also really likes his ball carriers as well. And Aït-Nouri does both of those things. So you can understand why he got such a good reception from the Wolves fans, not just for the goal, but for his overall performance. And to be fair, he probably would have got man of the match had it not been for Sarr. But we will talk more about we'll talk about the players at the end, of course, in depth. But yes, so I actually think Burnley were a bit unlucky, to be fair. I think Burnley showed a lot of signs where they could hurt Wolves at a lot of moments, and you can see from here. Look, to be fair, ball possession 52-48. I actually thought that Burnley had the ball a lot more than us. They were winning second balls every single time Wolves were trying to get rid of the ball off our defensive third. It was always going straight back, and we did pretty well actually to nullify them as much as we did, because they did look really, really threatening. As you can see here, 13 total shots, 6 on target, only 2 shots on target for Wolves. Luckily, we put one in the back of the net. We also had a couple of big chances. Now, let's talk about those big chances, actually, while we're on that topic, because Aït-Nouri was bearing down on goal again, goal at his mercy, just like he did against Aston Villa, but fluffs his lines again. Obviously, he does put a goal away, so we can't really go too far at him, but we have to honestly say he just needs to work on that in training, doesn't he? If we're going to play him further forward, he just needs to work on his finishing and his positioning in training, because his positioning was really good most of the time, but he was caught offside quite a few times as well. So he just needs to work on sharpening those little things up if we're going to use him so much in the last games of the season. But other than that, I thought Aït-Nouri did an incredible job today, so I'm not going to diss him too much. We are going to talk about, of course, the fact that we managed to get a draw, and where does that leave us. So really, if you look at the table, currently we'll sit 10th still. I don't think West Ham managed to win. No, it ended 1-1. Perfect. So because of that, we both picked up a point, didn't we? And that left West Ham still catchable at 7th, and of course Newcastle as well. Yeah, so Everton got a goal later on, which meant that they also dropped points as well. So, in terms of games that happened, all of us drew. So, it meant that there wasn't a lot of movement in the table, which is really, really good. We're just going to obviously hope now that the Chelsea, obviously, with games in hand, don't get any points and knock us off our perch of 10th. Because if they don't, and these teams with games in hand don't catch us, we're not really minding a point, to be fair, today, because we could go to West Ham and obviously hopefully get 3 points. And if you get 3 points off West Ham, who's obviously a rival in this race for Europe, we could definitely start to look up the table a lot more. Obviously, if we lose that game, it's pretty much game over. But it's just good thing that we didn't lose today. And like I said right at the start, I think Burnley feel exactly the same way. Unfortunate for Burnley, to be fair, because they really played really well, like I just said. But unfortunately, on the day, they just couldn't break us down enough to get that goal. But I do think they played a really good game and probably deserved all 3 points, really, when you think about the chances that Wolves had and the chances that Burnley had and the possession and the way they were just playing. They were very positive and we were very negative at times. So, yeah, I'm going to talk about the individual players. We're going to actually end with Sarr this time because I know we started with Sarr last time, but I'm actually going to end with Sarr because of the performance he put in today was absolutely ridiculous. We'll start with Chouameni. A lot of people on social media have been saying like Chouameni is obviously not good enough for the Premier League and everything. I actually thought today Chouameni was better than he's been than he was against Aston Villa. And you have to remember this is only his second game. So he's obviously going to grow into being that number 9. He's obviously where he's positioned at the moment as well. He's a number 9 on his own. So as an advanced forward, you are relying very, very heavily on Sarabia. And Sarabia didn't have a great game, so that meant that Chouameni didn't have a great game. But I did think that he got about well. He also made it a little bit awkward for the Burnley players when a ball was coming to him. Yeah, he looked pretty good. Obviously, he didn't do enough attacking-wise, but what he did for his hold-up play was a lot better. Obviously, still not good enough for this Wolves team, but I will say that he showed signs that, in time he could get there. And obviously, any progress is good progress. So, Sarabia, we talked about him. Yeah, he got his assist, and he's got a 7.2 here for the fantasy team. I don't understand that at all. Thought Sarabia was poor again. Seemed to just be all over the place. He didn't really play a 10 role at all, really. He was very much on the wing a lot. And just wasn't good enough. Like, it wasn't good enough going forward. He wouldn't get back enough to help the defensive lines out. When he fell into midfield positions, he was all over the place and wasn't strong enough to win a ball. And then obviously when he got forward, other than the free kick, which was a good cross, I've got to say. But other than that, he didn't really do anything of any note. So yeah, not really happy with Sarabia. And we were talking as well on the chat for the Wolfpack, and we were saying that Sarabia really, as a senior forward, has to start playing better if he's got this opportunity. He was moaning so much at the start of the season about an opportunity that obviously he'd squandered and wasn't playing and wasn't getting minutes. Now he's getting the minutes, he's squandering the opportunity, and it's just really with the amount of money he's on a very similar wage to the likes of Nelson Semedo. And can you really put a glove on Nelson Semedo over Sarabia? Nelson Semedo has basically consistent 7 performances every single game. You cannot fault Nelson Semedo, other than obviously being out of position for the goal, but you could also put that to the fact that obviously Kilman, again, not good enough, but it is one of them. Anyway, Doherty, strange one to push Doherty forward, but I do think that he did show some signs of getting forward and being a little bit of a threat. There was little moments where he did some overlap play with Semedo, but I just don't see enough of that, unfortunately. And to be fair, I think he was kind of meh. I think a 6 would probably be more of a score that I'd probably give him. I wouldn't be shy of a 7. when you think that's the same score they've given Lamina, and I feel like Lamina had a better game than Doherty. But we'll talk about Lamina. Lamina, yeah, I think that Lamina just sits so much nicely in this position. He's just a midfielder, isn't he? He's not a winger. You know, he'll give it a go. He'll give it a go and everything. But when he's in this position here, with Gomez, it just feels so much nicer. You know, he can pick up those little pockets of space and get us forward. He'll, you know, do the dirty work when Gomez is too far forward, and they both complement each other so well. So yeah, nothing wrong with Lamina today, other than the fact he probably should have put us 2-1 ahead when this is just coming to me now. He had a powerful header just wide hitting the post. But to be fair, the position that he was at, he was pretty far out really for a header to be anywhere near on target. So he did pretty well with it really. But yeah, had that goal gone in, obviously this number is, yeah, it's probably like an 8. Gomez, absolutely awesome again, to be fair. He always picks a yellow up, doesn't he, Gomez? But sometimes you've got one of those players in your team that's just a bit of a bad boy, isn't he? You know what I mean? He's not scared of getting a yellow every game. And yeah, well, you know, it's obviously not a great thing to get a yellow because it means your tackles aren't very clean. But you need one of those players that just remind the other players on the opposing team that you're not one to be just pissed about with, and João Gomez does that all the time. So really good work with João Gomez. He looked a little bit more fit as well today than he did against Villa. So yeah, nice. Aït-Nouri obviously got the goal, but he was also just everywhere, wasn't he? Everywhere Gary O'Neill wanted him to go, he'll go there, and he won't moan about it, like I said earlier. And what I really loved about Aït-Nouri today was just the drive that he showed to win a ball and just do his absolute utmost best to get us up the pitch. And you know, he was relying very heavily on Hugo Bueno, and Hugo Bueno didn't have a really great game. So to pick up an almost 8 from a game like this out of position, and also getting a goal is magnificent, really, and he's probably up there as one of the players of the season, isn't he? But yeah, let's go back for the back line. So Semedo, again, you can't fault Nelson Semedo. I've said this he'll put in a performance, right? He'll put in a 7 out of 10 performance every single game without fail. He will just do something in a game that you just go, yeah, that's Nelson Semedo. And he had all the Wolves fans singing his name from really early on in the game, really. And that just kind of just built throughout the entire game. I mean, like we said about the goal, yeah, he should probably be in a better position, but he probably should have a lot more cover as well from his centre-backs, and he didn't. So, you know, you've got the blame along the whole back line, really, there, not just on one bloke. And Kilman had a better game than he did against Villa, but in a back four, he's just not good enough, is he? And again, we talked about this in the last video, but he's just not loud enough either. He doesn't demand enough from the players, and you don't see him like picking up a player, you know, from the ground if they've missed a chance, or you don't see him like there like Cody was for goals when they went in. It just doesn't seem like one of those players that's captain material, you know. And I don't want that to ruin him as a player as well, because he is a good defender when he wants to be, and in a back three with the likes of Dawson next to him, he's really good, isn't he? But what does that say to you? If you've got someone like Dawson next to you that makes you better, that probably means that you're not quite up to the task of being a captain, and Dawson probably is. And what does that really come down to? Well, it probably comes down to the fact that Kilman probably would never be captain if Neves left. If Neves didn't leave, Kilman's not captain. And I've said this a few times now to the Wolfpack boys, but I honestly think that if Kilman was going to leave for Napoli, wasn't he? And I think Wolves gave him the captaincy to sort of sweeten the deal for him to stay. because I don't really see how else he's earned that role. Yes, he's been in the team a long time and he's gone through the ranks and everything, but so has Toti Gomez. What's Toti Gomez done different to Kilman? Not a fat lot. You know, that's not enough for me to get the captain's armband. And I know we talked about this extensively on the last one, but if you're showing performances like this time and time again in terms of being that leader, you're gonna get that scrutiny, aren't you? But yeah, we'll leave Kilman alone. See what he's like in the next game. Hopefully, we play as a back three. Good God, against West Ham, because we're gonna get destroyed otherwise. Toti Gomez, I don't know why he's got a 6.5. To be fair, he was out of position a little bit, I suppose. And again, he's one of those players that he supports a back three so much better. So it's one of those where you can't really be harsh on the defenders in one frame of mind, because they're used to being in a back three, and when they're put in a back four, they just don't look good at all. Because they just leave so much space, because they always think in their heads there's that extra man that's going to clean up behind them, and when they're not there, it shows weaknesses in Gomez and Kilman, and that's ultimately why. To be fair, I'd probably say they both deserved about a 6.5. I'm not sure why Kilman's got 7.5. Hugo Bueno, yeah, not great, and wasn't good against Villa either, and he obviously gets a start today, but that's probably due to the fact that we had four fullbacks or wing backs. Jeremy, 4. That's madness. Yeah, absolutely mental to play 4 wing backs, isn't it? And obviously that's why Bueno gets a start, because you know you're playing Ait-Nouri and Doherty further forward, so you've got to play him somewhere. And yeah, he just wasn't great, to be honest. Didn't defend very well. Didn't look. I don't rely on him. Like, if a winger's getting forward from like a Burnley standpoint, I was never relying really heavily like I would on Semedo on Bueno. I was always thinking that's probably our weaker side, isn't it? Because Ait-Nouri's going to get further forward, and Toti Gomez is probably going to help Hugo Bueno out a little bit, and ultimately that's going to leave a massive gap, isn't it, next to Kilman? And yeah, Toti Gomez really shouldn't be helping Hugo Bueno, but if Hugo Bueno has a better game, he doesn't have to. And that's basically why he's got a lower score, isn't it? Because you can't rely on him, and that's the problem. And then we're going to go to our man of the match, 100% man of the match. It's Jose Sarr, my lord. Because, honest to God, the guy, his shot-stopping ability is absolutely second to none. He reminds me a lot of David De Gea, because David De Gea, right, was an absolutely incredible shot-stopper for United, but with the ball at his feet, he wasn't that great, because obviously he isn't that kind of goalkeeper. He's not really a sweeper goalkeeper, whereas you look at Muric for them, he was so far off his line all the time. Because he's a sweeper goalkeeper, he's going to help out those defenders. When you're asking that of Sarr, you're not going to get that kind of response, because he's not that kind of player. But I will say, his shot stopping today was world class, guys. World class. Some of the saves that he made today were absolutely unbelievable. Some of the saves of the season for Wolves, I'd say. Probably some of the best saves he's had for quite some time. And when he's having a game like that, you can't really distribute why he's got that number 1 shirt, because he takes that from any goalkeeper on the bench, doesn't he? So you understand absolutely full-heartedly why we keep keeping him along, because his shot stopping has saved us so much. And in this game, we'd have definitely lost this game without him, because some of those saves were honestly just unbelievable. The one that I can really, really remember is one of their players, can't remember who it was, sorry, but had a crack at goal. And honest to God, it comes off Totti Gomez, I think. It comes off one of our players, and the deflection completely takes it higher than it initially comes off of a Burnley foot. And you'd think, really, you're beat from that point. And even if you're not, you're parrying it and it's going somewhere where there's danger. And that save was so key, because not only was it a good save, but it was a save that completely stopped the attack for Burnley, because he parried it completely out of danger and basically kept us in the game. And he did that a lot. Like, you look at their shots on target, they had 6 shots on target, like we said at the start, and I'll be honest, some of his shot stopping was absolutely ridiculous. He's made 5 saves there. He's faced against an XG of 1.5, prevented 0.5. Acted as a sweeper once. And that's what you've got to say, and that's what you're going to say, isn't it? You know, you compare that to Muric. Acted as a sweeper 3 times. He probably weren't needed as much as Sarr, though, because we didn't have as much possession as Burnley. But when he was needed, he was there. But yeah, with Sarr, just an unbelievable performance. Probably his best performance this season, I'd say. So fair play to Jose Sarr, because he has had his criticism, myself included. I'll be honest, guys. I'll put my hands up and say, you know what? Yeah, he probably hasn't been fantastic this season, but when he's been needed for his shot stopping ability, he has been really good. So therefore, yeah. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please support the channel, support the guys all across different social media platforms. The Wolfpack is our handle that goes across Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course us on YouTube as well. What I really love is to see this channel doing well, because there's a lot of boys behind the scenes that are really working their socks off to bring you news and to really provide the best kind of Wolves related things as soon as we can. So thank you so much for all your support. Thank you very much for the Wolfpack for involving me. Obviously, second video. I hope you guys like this kind of video. Please give me any feedback in the comments, no matter if they are constructive or if it's good stuff. I like to hear both. Like and subscribe to the channel, please, guys. It really helps us move forward. And as for everything else, I'll see you on the next one, guys. See you on the next one.